I stared at Derek's text message, disappointment settling in my chest like a stone. Working late tonight, babe. Campaign pitch. Rain check on the series. 3 years together, and I'd never questioned his late nights. I trusted him completely. That's what you do when you love someone, right? It's fine, I texted back, though we'd been planning this all week. I decided to surprise him. Thai food, his favorite from that place on 5th Street. I could picture his smile when I walked into his office with those little white containers, the smell of pad thai filling the room. The office building was dark when I arrived at 9, too dark. I walked through the lobby, took the elevator to his floor. Empty, completely empty. My phone felt heavy in my hand as I dialed his number. Babe? His voice was breathless, distracted. Music thumped in the background, loud, pulsing club music. Hey, I'm at your office. The client wanted to meet at this bar downtown. It's crazy loud here. I'll be home late, okay? A woman's laughter, close, too close to his phone. Derek, he'd already hung up. I stood there in the empty office, holding bags of cooling Thai food, my stomach twisting with something unfamiliar. Anxiety? Suspicion? I'd never felt this before, not with Derek. I should drive to that bar, confront him, ask him what's happening. Instead, I went home. I sat in my car outside our apartment building for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, my mind racing through possibilities I didn't want to entertain. Inside our apartment, everything looked normal. Our photos on the walls, his jacket on the chair, our life, exactly as it should be. I pretended to sleep when he came home at 2 in the morning. The smell hit me first, perfume, sweet and floral, mixed with alcohol. He kissed my forehead gently, like he always did. My heart hammered against my ribs. I wanted to open my eyes, to ask him where he'd really been. But fear paralyzed me. Fear of the answer. Fear of what I might discover if I started pulling at this thread. Coffee's ready! Derek's voice was cheerful the next morning, like nothing had happened. I watched him from the bedroom doorway. He was humming, making breakfast, completely relaxed. How was the meeting? I asked, keeping my tone casual. Boring as hell. Client couldn't make up his mind about anything. We're probably going to lose the account. He handed me a mug, kissed my cheek. Sorry about last night. He seemed so normal, so convincingly normal. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was becoming one of those paranoid girlfriends who sees betrayal in every late night and unanswered text. But over the next week, small things shifted. Derek took his phone everywhere. Bathroom, kitchen. Even when he showered, it sat on the counter, face down. When it buzzed late at night, he'd check it and smile, a small, private smile I hadn't seen in months. Who's texting? I asked one night. Just work stuff. At 11 p.m.? The team's planning happy hour. You know how it is. His answer came easily, smoothly, like he'd practiced it. Rachel noticed something was wrong during our weekly coffee date. We'd been friends since college, and she could read me better than anyone. You've checked your phone 6 times in 10 minutes, she said, setting down her latte. What's going on? I think something's off with Derek. Off how? I don't know. Little things. He's protective of his phone. He's getting texts late at night. Last week he said he was at the office, but when I went there, the building was empty. Rachel's expression turned serious. Maya, you're not the paranoid type. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Trust your instincts. What if I'm wrong? What if I ruin everything over nothing? Then you have a conversation and clear the air. But ignoring this won't make it go away. At work the next day, James pulled me aside during lunch. We'd been collaborating on projects for 2 years, and he'd become a good friend. You okay? You seem distracted. I hesitated, then found myself telling him everything without names, without details, but enough. James was quiet for a moment. I've been there. My ex cheated on me for 6 months before I found out. Looking back, the signs were all there. I just didn't want to see them. What happened? The truth always comes out, he said. The question is whether you're the one who discovers it or the last to know. That night, Derek's phone buzzed on the nightstand while he was in the shower. I'd never invaded his privacy before. Never even been tempted. But my hand moved before my brain could stop it. The message preview glowed on the screen. Vanessa, last night was amazing. Can't wait for next time. The room tilted. My hands shook as I set the phone down exactly as I'd found it, screen down, in the exact position. The shower turned off. I rushed to the living room, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my chest. When Derek emerged, toweling his hair, he smiled at me like nothing was wrong. like he wasn't destroying everything we'd built. I smiled back. But inside, everything had changed. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The name Vanessa burned in my mind like a brand. "You look like you haven't slept in days," James said, cornering me during our afternoon break. I broke. The whole story came pouring out: the lies, the perfume, the text message. "I need to know the truth," I said. "The full truth. Not just a text he can explain away." James thought for a moment. "I have a friend who does private investigation work. But honestly, you might not need that. I can teach you some basic surveillance techniques. Photography skills translate. You'd help me? Maya, you deserve to know the truth. Let me show you a few things." That evening, I checked our shared location app, something Derek and I had set up years ago for safety. His location showed a restaurant across town. The same restaurant where he'd claimed to have that client meeting. I grabbed my keys. "Where are you going?" Rachel asked over the phone. "To find out the truth." "I'm coming with you." "Rachel, you're not doing this alone." The restaurant was upscale, intimate, dimly lit through the windows. I parked across the street and scanned the interior. There, corner booth. Derek sat across from a woman I'd never seen before. Beautiful, mid-20s, blonde hair catching the candlelight, and on her left hand, a stunning engagement ring that sparkled as she touched Derek's hand across the table. My stomach dropped into a bottomless pit. I took out my phone, hands trembling, and started recording. They shared dessert. His hand covered hers. He looked at her the way he used to look at me, like she was the only person in the world. Then he leaned across the table and kissed her. Brief. Soft. Unmistakable. Tears blurred my vision, but I kept recording. I captured everything, every touch, every smile, every intimate moment until they finally left separately. "Follow her," Rachel whispered. I did. We tailed her car at a distance, my journalist instincts I never knew I had taking over. She drove to a bridal boutique. A bridal boutique? What the hell? Rachel breathed. The woman emerged 15 minutes later with shopping bags, talking animatedly on her phone. I photographed everything, her, the bags, the boutique name. After she drove away, I went inside. "Hello, are you here for an appointment?" The shop assistant Linda, according to her name tag, greeted me with a warm smile. "No, but I just saw my friend Vanessa leaving. Is she getting married soon?" Linda's face lit up. "Oh yes. Vanessa Wright is one of our loveliest brides. She's getting married in 6 weeks. Such a beautiful couple, her and Thomas." Thomas. She was engaged to someone named Thomas, and she was sleeping with my boyfriend. "Hey babe, where'd you go?" Derek asked when I got home. He was sprawled on the couch in sweatpants, watching TV like he had every right to be comfortable in our home. "Just needed to clear my head." "Drove around." He pulled me down beside him, his arm around my shoulders. I sat there, feeling that arm, knowing where it had been hours ago, and fought the urge to vomit. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. A spy, a detective, a woman I'd never thought I'd be. I checked Derek's phone whenever possible. Most messages were deleted, but through our shared cloud backup, which he'd forgotten about, I recovered conversations between him and Vanessa. 4 months. They'd been seeing each other for 4 months. The messages were intimate, sexual, full of inside jokes. She called him D. He called her V. They had pet names while I still called him Derek. Vanessa had been telling her fiancé Thomas that she was having girls' nights and bachelorette party planning sessions. Derek told me he was working late or seeing friends. They'd built an entire architecture of lies, each brick carefully placed. Through Vanessa's Instagram public, thank God I learned about Thomas Wright, 32, architect, kind eyes in his photos. Their engagement pictures were beautiful, filled with genuine joy. They'd been together 5 years. My heart broke for him, this stranger, who was living the same nightmare I was. "Maya, what is all this?" Rachel stood in my living room, staring at the printed photos, screenshots, and notes covering my coffee table. I showed her everything. "You need to leave him, now, tonight." "Not yet." I shook my head. "Vanessa's wedding is in 3 weeks. I need to decide what to do with all this." James called that night. When I told him what I'd discovered, there was a long silence. "Maya, I know you're hurting, but whatever you're planning, think carefully. Revenge can feel right in the moment, but eat you alive later." "I'll think about it," I promised. But I'd already decided. I was going to tell Thomas. He deserved to know before he married someone who was betraying him, but I needed irrefutable proof first, something undeniable. Vanessa's Instagram stories mapped out her life like a GPS. Final Bachelorette celebration at the Grandview Hotel this Saturday. One last night of freedom. The posts were constant, perfectly curated, completely fake. I noticed the pattern. Every time Vanessa had a girls' night, Derek claimed he was visiting Marcus, his college buddy, who lived 2 hours away. I called Marcus directly. "Hey Marcus, this is Maya. Random question, how often does Derek visit you?" "Maya?" Confusion colored his voice. "Derek hasn't visited me in over a year. We mostly just game online now. Why?" "Just checking something. Thanks." I hung up before he could ask more questions. This Saturday, while Vanessa told Thomas she was at her bachelorette party, and Derek told me he was visiting Marcus, they'd be together. I just needed to catch them. "If you're going to do this, do it right," James said, handing me professional photography equipment. "Don't make yourself vulnerable or unsafe. And Maya, be absolutely sure this is what you want." Saturday morning, Derek kissed me goodbye, his duffel bag packed. "I'll miss you, babe. Back tomorrow afternoon." I kissed him back, tasting lies. "Have fun. Say hi to Marcus for me." He didn't even flinch. "You're not doing this alone," Rachel said, arriving at my apartment an hour later. "What if something goes wrong?" We drove to the Grandview Hotel Boutique, luxury, the kind of place where affairs happen. At 7 p.m., Vanessa's car pulled into the parking garage. 20 minutes later, Derek arrived. Through the camera lens, I watched them meet away from the main entrance. They embraced, kissed, laughed together like they had every right to this happiness. My hands shook, but I kept shooting. They checked in together at a side entrance, Derek's hand on the small of Vanessa's back. The desk clerk handed them a key card. "Room 412. Rachel squeezed my hand. "You have enough evidence, Maya." "Not yet," I whispered. "Not yet." We found a discreet spot in the lobby with a view of the elevators. Pretending to be guests, we sat with magazines and coffee, watching. At 9 p.m., they emerged dressed for dinner. They'd changed clothes. 2 hours had passed. I didn't need imagination to know what they'd been doing. They looked happy, carefree, guiltless. They walked right past us so close I smelled Vanessa's perfume, the same perfume I'd smelled on Derek dozens of times. "Testing fragrances for a client," he'd said. I photographed them through the restaurant window, holding hands, feeding each other. The intimacy between them was undeniable. These weren't casual affair actions. They looked like a couple in love. That hurt more than anything. Derek didn't just want her. He cared about her. Maybe loved her. Around midnight, they returned to the room. "Maya, you have enough. Let's go." Rachel pulled at my arm. I couldn't move. I sat there until 2 a.m., documenting everything their window. Lights on, then off. The complete timeline. "You're torturing yourself. We're leaving." Rachel practically dragged me to the car. At my apartment, I finally broke. Rachel held me while I sobbed. 3 years of love and trust shattering into pieces. I'd never be able to put back together. "What do I do now?" I asked through tears. "You already know what you're going to do. The question is whether you're ready for the consequences." She was right. Sunday, while Derek thought I was home missing him, I compiled everything. I created a detailed timeline with timestamps, locations, screenshots, photos. I saved it all to a secure drive with backup copies. By evening, I had a comprehensive dossier of their 4-month affair. Now I needed to find Thomas Wright and decide how to deliver information that would destroy his world the way mine had been destroyed. Thomas Wright's life was an open book, courtesy of Vanessa's social media addiction. She tagged locations, shared their favorite spots, posted their perfect moments. Morrison and Associates Architecture. That's where Thomas worked. Their website had staff bios. I stared at his professional photo-kind face, warm eyes, easy smile. He looked like a genuinely good person, which made what I was about to do necessary and devastating. How do you tell a stranger his fiancé is cheating? Message him online? Too impersonal. Anonymous email? Too cowardly. Show up at his workplace? Too public. A letter. Old-fashioned, but personal. Something he'd have to open. Something that couldn't be deleted with one click. I spent hours writing it. "Dear Thomas, you don't know me, but we share something terrible in common. My name is Maya Chen, and my boyfriend of 3 years, Derek Matthews, is having an affair with your fiancée, Vanessa Wright. I know this is not what you want to hear 2 weeks before your wedding, and I'm sorry. I debated whether to tell you at all, but I would want to know if I were in your position before I made vows to someone who's been lying to me. I've included evidence, photos, messages, dates, and times. I have no agenda except to tell you the truth. What you do with this information is entirely up to you. I'm sorry for your pain. Maya Chen. I included the USB drive with everything organized and labeled, my email and phone number in case he had questions. Monday morning, I mailed it certified, requiring signature. I paid extra for tracking. It would arrive Wednesday, 9 days before the wedding. I had no idea what Thomas would do, and I realized I had no control over what happened next. I'd lit a match and dropped it into gasoline. All I could do was wait for the explosion. Derek came home Sunday night full of stories about his weekend with Marcus. Lies flowed easily from his mouth like water. I nodded and smiled, playing my part a little longer. Wednesday morning, the tracking confirmed it. Thomas had received and signed for my letter. I imagined him opening an unexpected package, reading my words, seeing the photos, his world collapsing. That evening, I couldn't maintain the charade anymore. Derek came home from work. I was sitting on the couch with printouts spread across the coffee table. Not everything I'd kept most secured, but enough. He saw the photos. His face went white. Maya, what is this? This is you and Vanessa Wright at the Grandview Hotel last Saturday. While you told me you were visiting Marcus, my voice was surprisingly calm. I'd cried all my tears. Now I was just numb. Derek sat down heavily, head in his hands. Maya, I can explain. Don't? It's not what you... Don't insult me with explanations. I know everything. 4 months. Her engagement, everything. His head snapped up. How did you... I sent all the evidence to her fiancé. He received it this morning. Color drained from his face. You did what? Maya, why would I tell someone their partner is cheating? Because he deserves to know before he legally binds himself to a liar. Because I would have wanted someone to tell me before I wasted 3 years. It's not like that, Derek said desperately. I love you, Maya. This thing with Vanessa, it's complicated. Complicated. I laughed, and it sounded slightly hysterical. You're having an affair with an engaged woman, and you're calling it complicated. Get out. Maya, please. Get out. I screamed it this time. He moved then, grabbed clothes, his laptop, his keys. At the door, he turned back. I never meant to hurt you. But you did, I said quietly. You hurt me every single day for 4 months while smiling to my face. That's not an accident, Derek. That's a choice. Now get out of my home. The door closed. I sat in the silence of the apartment we'd shared, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal, and felt something unexpected. Relief. Not happiness, not yet. But relief that the lying was finally over. The next day, I called in sick. Around noon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Maya Chen? The voice was male, strained, exhausted. Yes. Who is this? Thomas Wright. I received your package. We talked for over an hour. Thomas told me he'd thought it was a prank at first, but the evidence was undeniable. He'd confronted Vanessa with questions about her bachelorette party that she couldn't answer. She'd confessed everything. She cried, Thomas said, his voice hollow, said it was a mistake, that she loves me, that Derek doesn't mean anything. But it's been 4 months. That's not a mistake. That's a decision she made every single day. I know exactly how you feel. I've called off the wedding. Guests notified, deposits lost, families informed. Vanessa's parents are furious not at her for cheating, but at me for overreacting. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, Thomas said firmly. You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. I would have married her, Maya. You gave me the truth when no one else would. I'll never forget that. After we hung up, I felt strange, validated but empty. I'd blown up multiple lives, including my own. Was it justice or revenge? I wasn't sure there was a difference anymore. Rachel came over with wine and takeout. You look terrible. I feel terrible, I admitted, but also free? She understood. Over the next few days, consequences unfolded. Derek moved in with a friend. Through mutual friends firmly on my side, I learned that Vanessa was blaming Derek for her ruined wedding. Their affair couldn't survive exposure. Within a week, they were fighting, each blaming the other. Marcus called. Maya, I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was using me as an alibi. It's not your fault. Marcus mentioned Derek's work reputation was damaged too. Vanessa had contacted his boss in rage, revealing the affair. The truth, once released, destroyed everything, including the relationship it was meant to protect. 3 weeks later, I sat in a coffee shop with Thomas Wright. We'd been talking since that first call, two people bonded by shared betrayal. I've been thinking about trust, Thomas said, stirring his coffee. How easy it is to give, and how impossible to rebuild once it's broken. Vanessa keeps asking for another chance, but I can't imagine ever trusting her again. The betrayal isn't just what she did, it's that she was willing to marry me while doing it. I nodded. Derek had been reaching out too. His messages were full of apologies that didn't matter anymore. Do you regret telling me? Thomas asked. I considered carefully. No. I regret that it was necessary. I regret we were both betrayed, but I don't regret giving you the choice to know the truth. You deserved that. So did you, and you found it yourself. That took courage. We talked about moving forward. Thomas was considering moving to a different city. I was staying, refusing to let Derek chase me out of my own life. I'd found a new apartment. James and Rachel had helped me move last weekend. Are you dating? Thomas asked. I laughed. Not even close. I need to remember who I am without being someone's girlfriend. I need to trust myself before I can trust anyone else. That's wise. I'm not there yet either. Maybe someday. As we left, Thomas stopped me. Maya, thank you. You did the hard thing, the right thing. That takes strength. His words meant more than he knew. For weeks, I'd questioned whether exposing the truth was cruel. But seeing Thomas rebuilding with dignity, I felt certain. Sometimes the truth hurts. But lies hurt more, and they hurt for longer. Epilogue, 6 months later. 6 months later, I stood in my new apartment, hanging artwork on walls that were completely mine. The space was smaller, but it felt bigger, full of possibility, instead of secrets. James called to confirm our photography workshop this weekend. Our collaboration had grown into a genuine business partnership. Rachel was bringing her new girlfriend, Sarah. My life was filling with authentic connections. I occasionally wondered about Derek and Vanessa. Through social media, I'd unblocked them briefly. Out of curiosity, I learned they'd tried making their relationship work. It lasted 6 weeks before imploding. Derek was dating someone new already. Vanessa had moved to another state. The affair that seemed worth destroying multiple lives for couldn't survive becoming real. Thomas texted from Seattle, where he'd taken a new job. He was dating someone, a colleague who knew his whole story and was helping him trust again. I was genuinely happy for him. As for me, I wasn't dating yet, but I wasn't opposed anymore. I'd spent these months rediscovering myself, pursuing hobbies I'd neglected, strengthening friendships, advancing my career. I'd learned I was stronger than I thought, capable of surviving heartbreak and making difficult choices. Was sending that evidence the right thing to do? I'd stopped asking. I made the choice I could live with. Thomas was grateful. Derek and Vanessa faced consequences, and I learned I'm someone who chooses truth over comfortable lies, even when truth is painful. I looked at my reflection in the window, city lights glowing behind me. I saw someone who survived betrayal, who chose self-respect over false comfort, who helped another person avoid a terrible mistake. I saw someone scarred but healing, hurt but not broken. I saw myself, finally, clearly, and I liked what I saw. The end.